It's with great pleasure that I welcome back Dr. Sean Patel, who's the CEO and founder of Prep Expert, the title sponsor of the College Admissions Process podcast. Sean, you have a special message for the listeners?
Hey, John, I just wanted to mention for all the parents and students who are listening to this great podcast, we have a really special offer only for listeners of the College Admissions Process podcast for Prep Expert. So, if your student is going to be taking an online SAT, ACT, PSAT course anytime soon, or is looking for one-on-one tutoring with top 1% tutors, head over to prepexpert.com. We offer live online courses for every college admissions exam. On top of that, we have the best score guarantees, best curriculum, and best instructors in the test prep industry. And just for listeners of the College Admissions Process podcast, you can get 20% off any online SAT or PSAT or ACT course, as well as one-on-one tutoring. So you can get 20% off. Just make sure you use the promo code College Talk. That's one word, College Talk, and you'll get 20% off just for listeners of the College Admissions Process podcast. And I hope you guys can use that to your advantage, save a bunch of money at prepexpert.com.
Thank you so much, Sean. And to everyone out there, once again, that promo code is College Talk. That's one word, College Talk. Thank you all, and best wishes. Welcome to The Cap, where we are here to speak with college reps and other professionals in the field of college admissions to help answer all your questions and guide you through every step of the process. So if you're serious about college admissions, you've come to the right place. Are you ready? Let's talk about it. And now, here's your host, Dr. John Durante. Welcome to The Cap, the College Admissions Process podcast. I am your host, John Durante, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you today Casey Campbell, who's the Assistant Director of Admissions at the University of Idaho. Casey, I'm so happy to have you here. I've been trying to get Idaho on the podcast for quite some time. How are you doing?
I am doing great, John. Thank you so much. And it's an honor to be on the podcast as well. Glad we're representing U of I today.
Well, thank you so much. The honor is all mine. And Casey, for listeners who may not be as familiar with the University of Idaho, how would you describe what sets the university apart from other public research universities within your region?
Sure. So the University of Idaho is Idaho's only R1 Carnegie classified public research university, placing us among roughly 4% of institutions nationwide with very high research activity. What makes that especially unique is that we combine that level of research with a mid-sized campus, small class sizes, and strong faculty access. Our average student to faculty ratio is about 18-1, and students that don't have to wait until their senior year to get involved in research. Roughly 2/3 of our undergraduates participate in research with faculty, often early in their academic careers. So that combination of the high impact research and the personalized academic experience, I feel, is what really sets U of I apart. And that's what we feel too.
Well, that's terrific. Thank you so much for the introduction. You are a high research university, mid-sized campus with a student to faculty ratio of 18-1, which is tremendous in terms of building that community and that, student support. So, Casey, when students first visit or even arrive on campus, what tends to surprise them most about the culture, the community, or even the academic environment at the University of Idaho?
A couple of things come up consistently, actually. First is the size and the beauty of our campus. Students are often surprised about how walkable it is, how green it is, and how welcoming it feels. The second is the friendliness of the community. The students notice people right away saying hello and the faculty being approachable, and it feels easy to get connected. I want to add just a little funny story here too that I think is kind of a thing that helps set us apart. My first walking of the campus, I was heading to our administration building, and we have a walkway that's called Hello Walk. And the story goes, many years ago, one of the former presidents, while his office was in the administration building, would walk that path every day to his office and say hello to students. And if the student didn't say hello back, he would actually follow them to class and then advise the professor, hey, your student did not say hello to me this morning on Hello Walk. So my first time walking the campus, I'm walking the Hello Walk, didn't know it was called Hello Walk, and I had 5 students say hello to me. And I'm like, wow, this is the most amazing thing. This is an amazing campus environment. And then I found out later the story of the Hello Walk. And I think that's pretty awesome because I think that shows our students, in the tightness that they want to have and the fact that they want to keep traditions going like that. So, and then, we also have platforms like Zeme, which help students build their connections even before they arrive on campus. I mean, Zeme allows our students to interact with current Vandals, future classmates. They can ask questions and get a more an authentic sense of campus life, which really helps ease the transition and build that sense of belonging early on our campus.
Well, I love the great tradition of the Hello Walk. And in terms of the campus life, athletics and, of course, school spirit play a big role at the University of Idaho, Casey. So, how would you describe the impact of your athletics on the student experience? And what should prospective students know about the community and opportunities connected to your athletic programs?
Yes, absolutely. So athletics, it plays a very important role in helping our students build community here in Moscow, especially early on. Our students are encouraged to attend games. It's a great way to meet people, build your school pride, feel connected to the community. And it's also unique because we have a very supportive Moscow community. You see them at our games, you see them at our homecoming parade, and throughout the year. One example that we recently started is a new tradition that the football program where incoming freshmen were invited to run on the field before the first home game. And we had more than 300 students participate in that. And I actually got to run on the field as well. It was great because you could feel the energy, not just from the students as they were running on the field, but the students in the stands and the faculty that were there and the community that was there. You could just feel the vibe of great energy. And it just created such a great excitement and a sense of belonging.
Well, I love that tradition. And one of the things, of course, that the students and families listening and the many college counselors, what they want to hear about, what happens when a student submits their application. Now, the University of Idaho uses a rolling admissions approach with a priority
Mhm.
date early in the fall. Casey, from your perspective, how does the timing of a student's application affect the scholarships they've offered or the information families receive about financial aid?
Sure, and that's a good question. I mean, applying early doesn't disadvantage our students, but it often gives the families and the student more time and clarity. Timing does not impact eligibility for our Western Undergraduate Exchange or the Invitation to Idaho Scholarship that we offer, which those are automatic and doesn't require any additional applications or information. Where timing does matter is financial planning, and completing the FAFSA early allows the students to receive their financial aid offer sooner. And that gives families more time to prepare. And then students who apply later, for example, especially in the spring and summer, they may need to make those decisions a little more quickly as our housing and class availability begin to fill up. We do encourage students, that are admitted to explore additional opportunities through a link we have called Scholarship Universe that allows it to kind of to tailor make it down to the student. So, for example, the student is studying political science and they fill out and create this profile on Scholarship Universe. It's going to show them the scholarships solely for, say, political science. So, those are ways we try to help our students.
Well, there's definitely a lot of ways that you try to help your students both inside and outside of your classroom. And I love that you're giving students and families more time to prepare by giving them the information early in terms of whether or not they're admitted, but also their financial aid packages. So, can you walk us through the journey of an application at the University of Idaho from submission to final decision? For example, how many people typically read each file, and what kinds of discussions take place during committee deliberations?
That's a good question. Now, the applications are reviewed by our admissions office. And so I myself am not in those discussions. So basically, I can tell you the process works like this, though. Once a student submits their application, it is reviewed by the admissions team. If anything is missing, such as transcripts or additional documentation, admissions counselors like myself reach out directly to the student and help them complete that information to get that into the file. And then once all the materials are received, then a decision is made and communicated out to the student. And in some cases, applications may have to move to the admissions committee review, which does require additional context and additional materials. But throughout the process, communication and support are a priority. So we're constantly letting the students know, hey, if we still need information and what they can do to get that to us.
Well, we appreciate that. And Are there any majors at the University of Idaho that are more competitive or that require a stronger academic background compared to others?
Well, some programs, particularly within engineering and certain science-based majors, have strong math and science preparation expectations. So we encourage students interested in those areas to take rigorous high school curriculum. And, they are free to connect with people like myself, an admissions counselor, so we can help them, understand the preparation and the pathways for success. And in some cases, we can even have an academic advisor or someone from those colleges give them some additional feedback as well.
Understood. And for students whose transcripts have inconsistencies, whether it was a dip in grades, a tough semester, or lighter rigor compared to other students that may apply to the University of Idaho, what's the best way for them to provide context so your team could understand their story fully?
Sure. Well, I think honesty and being upfront and context are key to that. We encourage students to explain any dips in grades or challenging semesters and share what they learned or how they grew from that experience. We also offer programs like our Vandal Gateway program, which this provides additional academic support and advising for students who may benefit from a more structured transition. Ultimately, our goal is to see students that, come to campus, feel comfortable, supported, and set them up for long-term success.
Now, students often default to using the additional information section, Casey, only if they experienced something major or life changing. Can you share an example of a student who used that section, that's the additional information section, to add meaningful context or dimension to their file, even when it wasn't tied to a dramatic event?
Sure. So for additional information section, it's most helpful when it adds, clarity and context, not when it's repeating what's already been said in the application. So, it can, when it can be used to explain academic circumstances and responsibilities, say outside of school, or factors that help us to better understand that student's experience and their situation.
Well, we appreciate that. And I love how you talked about adding context. So, students, a couple of lessons there. You don't have to use the additional information section only if something tragic
Mhm.
happened, right? Maybe there was a dip in grades. Maybe you were in 2 or 3 high schools during that 4 year period. That might be an area where you could add this additional context so that when people like Casey's team are reviewing your applications, they understand you more full. Is that correct, Casey? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. The more information, the better. It just helps us to understand that student so much better.
Fantastic. And again, use that information, students, to add to your overall application, not to repeat information that is easily found on your activity sheet or perhaps in your personal statement. Now, Casey, speaking of the activities section, this gives students a very limited space. There's like 150 characters for each activity. What does your team look for when deciding whether an activity stands out? And can you share an example of a student who really used that space exceptionally well? Perhaps not because they had a long list, but because they captured depth, commitment, or impact clearly in that small space for whichever activity they listed.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So in general, we value depth over quantity. So sustained involvement, leadership, commitment, and impact matter more than just having a long list of activities. And then students who can clearly explain why an activity mattered to them or how they contributed often stand out more to us than those who just simply list everything that they've done. The best example that I can tell you is I had a student a year ago that I was at their high school, and their counselor encouraged them to fill out the application since they were interested in U of I. And we got to the section and activities. And, they were like, I don't know what to put. And the counselor was kind of chiming in, like, well, you did this and you did that. And I don't remember the program specifically, but the student was like, oh, that's right. Yeah, I mentored a junior high kid. And I'm like, whoa, that right there. That is exactly what you want to do. And basically he said, what do I want to say? And I said, exactly what you just told me. Give as much detail on that as you can. I said, obviously, it sounds like something you were interested in, you were excited to do. And he did. That student, I should say, they filled it in and they put, as much information as they felt comfortable within that allotted space. But definitely depth is going to be more something we're going to look at.
Well, we appreciate that example. And when a student writes that they mentored a junior high school student, it shows their character. It shows that they're empathetic. It shows that they want to help people. And it also indicates perhaps the type of community member that they're going to be. When you engage in activities like that, it kind of gives an indication of the type of classmate you might be or the type of roommate that you might be. So students, it's very important to take that as a lesson in terms of, again, using each part of the application to complement each, to build upon each without repeating, and really creating the best overall picture of yourself, such as that student that used the example of mentoring that junior high school student. Now, Casey, something that comes up a lot in my conversations with families is this conversation around institutional priorities, which I know that there are so
Mhm.
many different types and it varies from school to school, and certainly it can change from year to year. But what are the U of I's current institutional priorities, whether that's growing academic programs, expanding research opportunities, increasing access for Idaho residents, strengthening diversity, or meeting workforce needs in the state, or frankly, anything else?
Yeah, absolutely. So our priorities really center on student success, experiential learning, or even hands-on learning, and research innovation. All while expanding areas of access and supporting the Idaho workforce. These priorities guide us as the university on how we design our academic programs, our research opportunities, and our student support services that are across the university.
Well, that's terrific. We appreciate that. And another question that people ask around institutional priorities is, for the University of Idaho, is there a percentage of students that you're permitted to accept from outside of the great state of Idaho, or does that not come into play in your admissions process?
I've not seen it come into play. When we look at the demographics of our students, a majority are coming from the state of Idaho. And so, no, I don't think that's been an issue. I would love for us to have more coming from the East Coast where you are. We do get a few students that apply, but I also know the distance is kind of a thing. But no, we don't have anything that where we've run into an issue, let's just say, that has happened.
Understood. We appreciate that. And Casey, what should families know about the full financial picture at the U of I, including tuition, scholarships, the Western Undergraduate Exchange, and other
Yes.
aid options?
Absolutely. So, the University of Idaho offers several strong financial options. Through the Western Undergraduate Exchange, students from the Western states are eligible to receive a significant tuition discount without any additional application or processing needed. Roughly, the Western Undergraduate Exchange saves those students roughly $16,000 a year. And so just giving a number there. So that helps out there. We also have something called our WUI Scholars, which goes on top of that. So it is stackable. So students, it is based on GPA. So students from a 3.0 to a 3.749 get an additional $1,000, and then 3.75 to a 3.89 get 2,000. And we've just opened a new avenue, which is a 3.9 to a 4.0 is now $3,000. So there's definitely some advantages for our students with that. Now, then, students who are not in Idaho or are not residents from the WUI states, they may qualify for the Invitation to Idaho Scholarship, and that provides a substantial tuition support as well, similar to the WUI. But when combined with that, federal aid, meaning financial aid, Pell Grants potentially, institutional scholarships, and external awards, many students find that the U of I can be a very affordable option for them.
Well, that's terrific. And you have so many supports for students in terms of the finances and things that you have on your campus and off. So I always like to ask, for a student that had an IEP or a 504 plan while in high school, or frankly, any other learning considerations, what should they know about the resources and support systems available at the University of Idaho?
Students have access to support through our Center for Disability Access and Resource, or CDAR. Students self-identify and work directly with CDAR to request accommodations in a collaborative, student-centered process. Now, that support can include testing accommodations, assistive technology, note-taking assistance, alternative formats, housing accommodation, and services for students who are deaf or hard of hearing. And we also offer our Raven Scholars program, which supports students with intellectual and developmental disabilities through an inclusive coursework, campus engagement, and employment experiences and individualized coaching.
So I appreciate you talking about the fact that students have to kind of reach out and advocate for themselves. Do you suggest that they do it at the time of the application, prior to submitting, after submitting? What's the right time for them to reach out for their accommodations?
My opinion is that I would recommend that they do it once they're admitted, not putting that cart before the horse, so to say. And I would think they would want to as soon as they know for sure that they want to go to U of I. The reason being is, if they say, okay, hey, I need all these accommodations and we can make them work, and then the student doesn't need them, then we've unfortunately kind of wasted the student's time. But I would say that once they're admitted and they know they want to go, that would be the absolute time to jump on the phone or an email to our CDAR office, because they're definitely there to help them out.
Fantastic. I think that's great advice. And Casey, you've worked with thousands of prospective students and families over the years. What's one question you wish families asked more often? Something that would generally help them make more informed decisions?
Absolutely. That's a good question. And that was the one that always stands out to me is I wish our families knew more about our experiential learning opportunities. Like our study abroad programs or even our field-based programs. One example is our semester in the wild. And this is where students get to conduct research in natural environments alongside faculty. It's in an area of federally protected land in Idaho called Frank Church River of No Return. And so, those experiences, they allow the students to be transformative and closely connected with that environment per se, and then even for career readiness.
Well, I think that's great. And just so you know, I always put the Office of Undergraduate Admissions in the show notes. If there are any links in terms of to your experiential learning opportunities or anything else, share it with me, Casey. And of course, we'll put it in the show notes for the students and families that are listening. Now, this has been a great conversation, but I like to ask before I get to my last question, is there a question that I didn't ask you today or a topic that simply didn't come up that you'd like to share with us now?
I think the one thing that I always want to emphasize is how intentional University of Idaho is to helping the students feel connected and supported. From academics to campus life to advising, we focus on making sure the students feel like they belong and know where to turn for help. And I'll give you a good example. We have an event called Envision where we invite juniors and seniors to come and sit in classrooms and hear presentations and discussions from faculty. And I was in one last fall, and a student was in the room, and it was three different faculty from three different programs. And all three of them, when they wrapped up, they said, want to let you know that as faculty, we want to know how our students are doing. So if you're not doing well, if you're struggling, you have to let us know. You have to call us. You have to email us. You have to come to us so we can try to help you out. And the fact that all three of them said that, and they're from three different subjects, to me just is another prime example of how I think how important it is for us to let the students know that they are supported. And that goes across the board. We have 8 different colleges on our campus, and my first experience meeting with all of them all said the same thing. We want to hear from the students. We want to help them. We don't know unless they come to us. And so I think to me, that just really emphasizes how important we know the students are and how we want them to be supported.
Well, I think that's such a great point because it's important to admit the right students into that freshman class. Of course, if you have transfer students, but I think it's even more important once the students are on your campus to make sure that you're transitioning them well to the University of Idaho community and to continue to ensure that you have supports ready for all students with any issues that they may have. So again, we really appreciate you giving insight into your overall University of Idaho community. And unfortunately, Casey, it does lead us to our last question, which is,
Okay.
what are your top 3 pieces of advice for students and their families getting ready for the college admissions process?
Yeah. I love this question because it's something I talk to whenever I'm in front of students and I'm giving a presentation. I literally say these things. First and foremost is to do your research. Make sure the schools that you're considering offer the programs and the opportunities that you're interested in. And then secondly, reach out to admissions counselors like myself. Ask questions. We're here to help. Don't be afraid to reach out. And I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to have all the answers. I may have to say, let me get a hold of somebody from the engineering college, or let me get a hold of somebody from the agriculture college to get you a definitive answer on that if I don't have it in front of me. And then finally, if possible, visit the campus, whether it's U of I, whether it's University of Nebraska or Washington State, which is just down the road from us, because being on that campus, being in that environment often will tell you more about the fit and how you feel there than anything you will read online or in any brochure you're going to see. And if you can't visit in person, I do recommend to try to take advantage of any virtual tours and events. And that is for the students who want to know more about University of Idaho, but aren't close by. So those students who are on the East Coast, or they're in the South, or they're in the Midwest, it's understandable. To come to Moscow is not a cheap endeavor. And so it's an option to say, here's information. You'll have a chance to talk with faculty and get a lot of questions answered. So I hope they take advantage of that. This is why we offer it. We try to be very transparent at the university because we want the students to be informed, but let them make their decision.
Well, I think those are great pieces of advice. Definitely, students, do your research. By the way, there's over 4,000 colleges and universities in the United States alone. Reach out to the admissions reps and ask your questions. Certainly be mindful of the questions that you ask. If it's something so simple to find on the website, that's perhaps not what you need to reach out about, but, definitely reflect, think of those good questions. And as Casey said, reach out. And of course, the importance of visiting campus. Even though there's great brochures and great websites, there's nothing that replicates being on the campus, seeing what's in front of you, but also what's off campus. Casey, this was phenomenal. I really can't thank you enough. I hope to have you again in the future. You were terrific. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, John. It's been a pleasure, and I hope to talk to you again.
It was our pleasure. And to everyone out there, good luck with the college search. Take care all, and best wishes.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the CAP, the College Admissions Process Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please don't forget to tell a friend and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and wherever you listen to your podcast. I am your host, John Durante, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the CAP. Thank you for listening to the College Admissions Process Podcast presented by Prep Expert. Prep Expert offers live online SAT and ACT courses with the best score guarantees, instructors, and curriculum. Go to prepexpert.com to guarantee your child's success.